The other day I was awakened in my tent at sunrise by a sound that I'd heard before, also in this West Texas wonderland. Try to identify what animal is making this sound or what you think it means. If you guessed that the animal making that noise was a bear, you would be correct. Today is Friday, November 24th, 2023, and the first thing I want to do is mention that I'm not trying to criticize any of the activities that have been carried out by the National Park Services, or any service for that matter. Right now, at this point in time for humanity, we've been doing the best we know how to do without having actually had a conversation with everyone or everything that's involved in a certain situation. Just for an example, this video clip started out with me waking up to the sound of a bear outside of my tent. I knew it was a bear because it had made a sound that I'd heard before just last year in the same national park, Big Bend National Park. And that sound was uttered by one bear towards another one as it attempted to safeguard or secure its space in the shade. So it was a territorial act. It was definitely a communication of sorts between animals. And although you're not able to hear it because I was asleep when I first was hearing this sound, the bear outside of my tent made a sound before it ever approached my campsite. And it wasn't until it heard me stirring that it began to get closer to my tent. So I've had questions ranging from, well, pretty much everything to everything, but the main question is, what about bear spray? So in Big Bend National Park, you don't generally need bear spray. The bears in this park are not brown bears, they're not grizzly bears. They're primarily vegetarians, and typically they go out of their way to avoid human contact. During these past 2 years, I've had situations, one of which I reported to park rangers, and one of which I tried to call to the attention of park hosts, camp hosts, neither which was anything that was really heeded by those personnel for whatever reason. And I believe that the situations that I had were directly related to food shortages in the national park. So late last year, one of the first incidents I had that seemingly was food related was during a time when the National Park Services said that the black bears were all congregating in the Chisos Mountains because of a surplus of mesquite beans. The fact is that almost all the bears that were in that area were yearling bears or youthful bears. They weren't large males, they weren't impregnated females, they weren't really as robust as some of the more dominant bears are. And the dominant bears had pretty much sequestered off the rich areas of habitat, and that's why these youthful bears were in the campgrounds. There's not that many places where you can go for good shade and the potential of water and maybe even some food during an ongoing onslaught of a drought. That was last year. This year, I was running in the desert in August or so, and I say running, but it's just like what I'm doing right now, real slow, maybe 18-minute miles, you know, nothing really, not setting any kind of speed records. But there was a circumstance where I ran into a bear that was seemingly about to ambush me from the brush as I ran along this road in a straight path in the desert where you normally wouldn't encounter bears. Here, look. So I happened to record some of this incident and shared it with park personnel, and once again I was met with pretty much disregard. You know, these animals are just kind of like chance encountering you. It's no big deal. It's not like I live in this park, but I do visit it frequently, and the randomness with which I approach my direction in the park is pretty extreme. And so to continue to encounter bears, whether I'm up in the mountains or down in the desert, and to encounter them in such a way where this most recent time, just 1 week ago, I was awakened with a vocalization, is unusual. And it's unusual enough that I wanted to make a video that shared all three of my recent experiences so that you can see the progression. You can hear bears talking to each other. You can hear bears pausing kind of to listen when the people are talking, even when they're arguing over shady spots. You hear it? He was snapping his jaw.
That was what I heard.
Yeah, so they're territorial. They're doing like what I'm saying. They're you can see a bear that clearly was running away from me after it failed at an ambush, thinking maybe it might be my prey. And then you can see another bear that clearly knows that it's not my prey, that it could make me its prey in an instant. You can hear it. You can hear it in what was recorded. You can see it in what was recorded. And hopefully you can feel compelled enough to help to carry on this discussion beyond just this one channel, where most of my findings have been kind of landlocked, so to speak. So this is what I saw last week when I unzipped my tent after hearing a sound that this bear was making outside. Listen closely to the sound that the bear makes as it kind of walks off here. That bear's over in the wash that we just walked in the other day. I kind of walked in the same direction as the bear up to the Pine Canyon 4 site. So Pine Canyon 3 is behind us. Here's Pine Canyon 4. Kind of wanted to keep an eye on where this bear is headed. So far it's been headed towards the mountains. Need to get down where the sun's not blasting me in the face so I can see better. There's a mountain up ahead. It's going to help me with that. Oh, crazy, huh? What a thing to wake up to. So here I am in the shade. This is in front of me, quite a distance away. Check it out. So the bear made its way up into the wash that leads up towards the Pine Canyon. For most of you who don't know me, this kind of stuff happens to me all the time. That was a spiritual encounter for me. That bear woke me up gently by giving a cautionary growl before it even approached my campsite. I didn't respond except for waking up, and as I started to slowly unzip myself out of the sleeping bag and open the tent window, it already knew I was there, you know. These bears are not, they're not dumb. All of these animals are sentient. As luck would turn out, hopefully it shows up, but as luck would turn out, I set up a motion activated camera on the side that the bear walked around when it woke me up this morning. So I hope that camera picked up some of the activity, but even if it didn't, obviously we did. It's a huge success. As time has gone by and as wildlife has become a little bit less common, it's become a real treat to see the things that our camp hosts normally use air horns to frighten off, that they normally drive around honking at. I recognize that there's check out the clouds. I recognize that there's there's an order to it all, but man-made order is a little bit short-sighted. So I started out this morning, like yesterday, with a beautiful, mostly uninterrupted walk. I only ran into people today because I was taking so much time watching the bear, making sure that it for sure looked like it was going to go on to the mountains and not backtrack to my site. And not that I could really do a whole lot about it, except for begin yelling and throwing rocks and stuff if it was being a disrespectful bear. But this bear seems to have understood, at least in part, what it was walking through. It didn't seem shocked to see me. So it's definitely a national park bear that's seen some people here and there. And its curiosity was only to search the area and see if there was any kind of food. What a beautiful experience on this amazing Friday. Just right off the bat, I wanted to stop this video and play it again, emphasizing you just saw where my motion activated camera was placed. And so what this bear did is walk past the camera, and it was basically at the foot end of this tent, sniffing for a while, trying to figure out what was going on inside, I guess. So there it is, just standing there, sniffing. Here's a later clip that I haven't seen yet. Had a big belly, huh? So towards the front of this tent, which is where my head is when I'm laying down in there, and that's where my feet are. So here is that log that you can see in the video, which was captured from that device. And the bear was standing to the left of that device, right here, kind of facing this way a little bit, probably listening for sounds in here. I've looked around. I can't really find any good bear prints. Right off the bat, right here. I'm gonna walk around a little bit in this area just to see if I see something. I don't see anything, but I guess the bear probably walked from this drainage down here. Could have followed the road up this way and then circled through the campsite. But I have a feeling it came up through the drainage up the slope and then up through here. But the terrain is a little bit rocky, and it'd be very difficult for the bear to leave a track, but it sure did leave an impression. So it's about 1 hour before sunset, and it's pretty quiet right now. You hear a couple of birds, but I have to say it's extremely quiet. The day got warm enough, sunny enough to where we should have seen all kinds of reptiles, variety of critters. I did hear some hawks. There are a lot of things that go uncaptured when I come to a place like this. Things that I see, things that I hear, things that I do. And so you're just kind of getting a snapshot of all the stuff that happened. And I'm compiling it all in a way where it's like, you really do get to see most of what I see. You really do get to experience most of what I experience. Right now, the only thing though, is you can't experience the cool temperature that's enveloping me right now. It's not quite chilly, but while the sun is behind the clouds, it feels cool, like really cool. When the sun comes out from the clouds and the solar radiation hits me directly, it feels somewhat uncomfortable. It's it can be pretty overwhelming, especially when the sun is up high. And I'm sure a lot of the plants and animals feel the same, especially the animals that have fur, which is why that bear was out and about before sunrise, making its way up the mountain range here. And once again, my mind just kind of wanders back to the fact that someone was missing up there for long enough that they had the rescue planes searching overnight. I heard planes today, but not quite in the same way. So I don't know if they were just finishing up the search or what. But at a certain point, everything stopped, and the cars coming to take on the trail system didn't stop. It was pretty busy. It was a busy day, and again, that could make someone overlook all of the things that are missing. There are definitely some insects flying around. There's some little tiny ones flying by my nose right now. There are birds, and once again, I kind of want to say, but I'm not sure. I kind of wanted to say that I think the bear is hunting campsites, or was hunting campsites, looking for anything that it could find. Because, again, you know, as a bear roaming this whole area, I can imagine, here comes that sun, I can imagine getting a little bit concerned, especially if I was a mama bear, or soon to be mama bear. I couldn't tell if that was a mama bear, just from the small screen that I'm looking at. I'm sure we'll all be able to tell looking at a bigger screen, but I'm sure I would be concerned. You know, what nutrients am I going to be able to find prior to the oncoming winter? Hope you guys are doing all right, and hope that you're enjoying the virtual trip to Big Bend National Park. During the peak of the Texas drought of 2022, I also experienced some unusual activity among the black bears of Big Bend National Park. Smells them.
Is that them?
One snapping his jaw. You hear it? He was snapping his jaw.
That was what I heard.
Yeah, so they're territorial. They're doing like what I'm saying. They're You hear that?
We were here July of last year, and I got this from
Bear. During this time frame, the park hosts were generally driving around honking or walking around blasting their air horn all day. In the meantime, the bears were forced to move back and forth over and over, getting increasingly agitated.
is just grabbing those and sticking its whole face down into the plant to eat those.
Here, look. Okay, I can still see the bear. It's crossing the road. Whew. That was a surprise. Basically what happened was I got to right about here in this brushy area. And apparently the bear was there. I wonder if it was setting up to ambush me. Whatever happened, it had to be keenly aware I was there, and then it just snorted and took off running after it saw me look at it. It's a pretty sizable bear, and it's making its way in the general direction of where I parked. So I'm gonna continue my run. That way I can head back towards the car, and I'll make a decision from there. I actually can see the bear on the road. Yeah, it's just walking up the road, but I'm gonna get going. I'm telling you, you never know what you're gonna see out here. In the long run, whether or not I had bear spray on hand this time around, the bear would have had to charge at me for me to have deployed that type of solution. Instead, it appears that this bear makes it perfectly clear that this territory is hers and that I should not disturb it. Listen closely. That's a sound I'll never forget waking up to.